Shabbat Shalom. So we find ourselves just over 1 week away from the days of awe, and we are reminded that this is the time of year to look inward, to reach out to others, seeking forgiveness and admitting to ourselves where and when we have fallen short. We reflect on another extraordinarily challenging year for ourselves and for our people. Let's be honest with one another. This year was brutal. I am exhausted. Our society has been battered, demoralized, with punch after punch after punch, uncovering painful truths about our history, facing global climate change in horrifying ways, armed conflicts with massive consequences, a global rise in anti-Semitism, and this unrelenting virus, just to name just a few of our current existential crises. And throughout our history, Jewish religious thinkers and moralists have tended to explain Jewish suffering in this way. We suffer because we have sinned, and the challenge is to identify the sins and then to rectify them. However, I take major issue with this. This antiquated approach is without a doubt a blame the victim mentality. This approach to suffering is what modern psychology teaches us to avoid at all costs. Yet as we turn to our Torah portion this week, Parshat Ki Tavo reinforces a worldview of reward and of punishment. A God that showers religious observance with blessings and fiercely punishes those who have been deemed sinners by a failure to adhere to the mitzvot. In our Parsha, 14 verses outline all of the good things that will happen to our people if they obey God. And then come 54 verses warning of the exact opposite, a terrifying portrayal of the various kinds of Jewish suffering. As we read this Shabbat, maybe a trigger warning is worthwhile. If you fail to observe faithfully all the terms of this teaching that are written in this book, to revere this honored and awesome name, the Lord your God, Adonai, will inflict extraordinary plagues upon you and your offspring, strange and lasting plagues, malignant and chronic diseases. God will bring back upon you all the sicknesses of Egypt that you dreaded so, and they shall cling to you. And horrifyingly it continues, moreover, Adonai will bring upon you all the other diseases and plagues that are not mentioned in this book of teaching, until you are utterly wiped out. You shall be left a scant few, after having been as numerous as the stars in the sky, because you did not heed the command of the Lord your God. My friend Rabbi Max Chaikin reflects on these verses, saying that he does not believe, as the Torah describes, that God directly acts in our world in this way, or that COVID-19 plague is some kind of divine message. Rabbi Chaikin writes, I do not believe that in the face of disease or suffering and evil, that God punishes us. Rather, God weeps with us. And when we aspire to holiness, regardless of our circumstances, God celebrates with us. And the more we keep these ideals in mind, the better we can build a world worthy of blessings. And so, as a proud, unapologetic Reformed Jew, I must reject the notion that our lot in life is directly impacted by our strict adherence to the mitzvot. So that is not to say that living a religiously inspired life of halakha, following the mitzvot, is not admirable and beautiful. It is. Rather, I am suggesting that there is no such thing as a good Jew or a bad Jew, no such system of reward and punishment, no such cursed people due to religious behavior. I'm reminded of two families who lived next door to each other in Jerusalem's Rehavia neighborhood. One family was Orthodox and the other was Reform. The families had plans to get together for Shabbat dinner after they each attended their respective Shabbat services, and on this particularly stormy night, the Orthodox family walked to shul in the cold wind and in the rain, unable to even bring an umbrella, for Shabbat does not permit us to carry. They sat down to daven in damp, wet clothes and powered their way through the service. And meanwhile, the Reform family piled into their warm car. They drove to synagogue while listening to Shabbat music together. And at dinner, the families compared their Shabbat experiences. The Reform Jewish family boldly asked, "Who do you think was more spiritually prepared for Shabbat worship? You sitting in your wet clothes, or us singing together as a family on our way to shul?" To which the Orthodox family responded, "You make a fair point, but who do you think was more appreciative to reach the shul and later the Shabbat dinner table?" This story has always been a reminder to me that there is no right way to live Jewishly. There is no hierarchy of religious observance that gives anyone more or less authenticity as a Jew. Both families celebrated Shabbat in the way that they understood. No one given more blessings or fewer curses from God. The threat of grave curses in Parshat Ki Tavo are frightening and challenging to read. What are we to do with them? How can we rectify within ourselves the obstacle of an antiquated idea that is found in our holiest of books? Rabbi Dr. Mark Saperstein writes, "I see no way of salvaging these terrifying 54 verses from Parshat Ki Tavo, except as a passage of literary and historical interest. It is a part of our sacred scripture, a part from which many of us will dissent. Neither this vision of unmitigated horrors nor the depiction of a serene enjoyment of the bounty of the land flowing with milk and honey earlier in the Parsha reflects our experience of history or our understanding of God's relationship to history. Any effort to apply the worldview of Deuteronomy chapter 28 to the actual Jewish experience or to human suffering beings anywhere, from the recent fires and floods, the COVID-19 pandemic, terror attacks in Afghanistan, this all seems abhorrent, if not altogether blasphemous, especially in a post-Holocaust world. The suggestion that ritual behavior of Jews might lead to the destruction of the Jewish people as a divine punishment seems beyond appalling. And in this high holiday season, as we navigate the heaviness of the world's problems, together with our own personal teshuvah, may we find resilience and blessings. Surely we are not responsible for the bringing about curses of the world, but it is our lot that we must live with them. So let us remember that Ki Tavo also provides us with the hope of blessing, and perhaps we can be the ones who help to bring them about. We read this week, and with this we will conclude with words of Torah. "Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the country. Blessed shall you be your issue from the womb, your produce from the soil, and your offspring from the cattle, your calving from the herd, and your lambing from the flock. Blessed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed shall you be in your comings, and blessed shall you be in your goings." Wishing you all Shabbat Shalom. May we all be blessed with goodness and worthy of blessing. Ken Yehi Ratzon.